In just the last week, Donald Trump has constantly said that Vice President Kamala Harris is anti Semitic. And keep in mind, she is married to a Jewish man. But during an interview today, the rhetoric took another dark turn. Just listen to this.
Because she dislikes Jewish people and Israel more than Biden did. And Biden never did anything, and neither did Obama. If you're Jewish, if you vote for a Democrat, you're a fool, an absolute fool. And today it's almost like, Schumer has become a Palestinian. Chuck Schumer is officially now a Palestinian.
It's funny, but it's true. It's sad. He is. And they tell me that this Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, Mr. President, is Jewish. He's Jewish like Bernie Sanders is Jewish. Are you kidding me? He's a crappy Jew.
Yeah.
He's a horrible Jew.
Joining us at the table is CNN commentator and Washington Post opinion columnist Catherine Rampell. Catherine, I've given up trying to understand why Trump keeps going there with this argument, but then to say that Doug Emhoff is not, or to agree with the idea that Doug Emhoff is not a good Jew is beyond.
As the resident crappy Jew at this table, I would like to say that Doug Emhoff should wear this as a badge of honor, to be called a bad Jew by Donald Trump. Like, what higher praise could there be? Spinoza was considered a bad Jew. Einstein was considered a bad Jew. That's pretty good company to be in. However vile those comments may be. Wear it as a badge of honor.
Trump wants to make the case, I guess, that Democrats are anti-Semitic, but how on earth can you do that when you're disparaging Jewish people in the process?
Pretty easily. There's a huge amount of Democrats who are siding against Israel in this conflict in the Middle East, and the Biden and Harris administration, particularly now with Harris in the lead, I think are putting way more pressure and blame on Israel than they ought to be. And look, this is a political argument he's making, that if you want a president that's going to stand with Israel, our ally, and not treat them terribly in the middle of this war and all the things they've got going on, then pick the Republicans.
What does Doug Emhoff have to do with anything? Really?
I don't know. I don't care. I don't care about that. I care about her positions on these issues.
Good point.
I would also say I care about Donald Trump's record of anti-Semitic comments, which seems sort of relevant beyond what was said.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to the idea that in politics that, the John McCain moment when you are able to say, hey, hold on, that goes a little bit too far. It's a spouse.
We've moved so far beyond John McCain moment from that space.
That's true.
Listen, maybe that moment will find itself in 50 years from now, but we're at the moment of his just combat. And Trump has always done, President Trump has always, whether it's a good job or a bad job, he's always done, a way of just highlighting a particular issue that creates, sort of chaos and scandal and creates everybody worked up about it. But at the end of the day, we're still talking about the issue like Josh is talking, like we're talking about here. At the end of the day, it falls to, if you believe in Israel, if you believe in the right to defend itself, you've got a party who's working against you, and you've got a party who's working for you. And that seems foolish, similar to the Latino community when he said that, then, listen, how are you guys supporting illegal immigrations? Illegal immigration is literally taking jobs away from you. That woke up a lot of Latinos in California and Arizona and Nevada. So he's making an argument we may not like as articulate, but he's making an argument that's connecting with people.
There's a bit of a bigger cultural discussion here, though. There is a huge problem of anti-Semitism in this country. Anti-Semitism is on the rise. It exists on the far left and it exists on the far right. Donald Trump dined with an avowed neo-Nazi. Well, we've seen some of these protests that's espousing vile anti-Semitic, anti-Zionist rhetoric is scary. And for millions of American Jews, it's a scary time to be a Jew. So even leaning into rhetoric like that, rather than saying, this is not a candidate who supports Israel, or they're not fierce enough in Israel's right to defend itself, that is legitimate. Agreeing someone's a bad Jew or saying you are not, what's the lead problem?
I will say that when you're at that point, a rhetoric point when we're dividing people into good Jews and bad Jews, that's rarely good for the Jews.
That's never ended well.
Yeah, never ended well.
We're talking, Nina, about the possibility that one of the people on the ticket on the Democratic side could be a Jew.
Yes, that is true.
And that's possible.
I campaigned with twice a Jewish candidate by the name of Bernard Sanders, senator from Vermont. And I watched my senator be called a self-hating Jew. His family perished in the Holocaust. His father made it out and some others, but a lot of his family perished in the Holocaust. So just even listening to that entire conversation has me enraged. To use Palestinians as a racial slur. Palestinians matter just like Israelis matter. Both people are entitled to live a good life, and we got to find a way to make that happen. But for President Donald J. Trump to continue to sable rattle in that way, what has the Biden-Harris administration done that has been against Israel? They have not. It is our bombs that are bombing Palestinian babies over there in the Gazas. And as many Democrats have said, the cries of a Palestinian baby and the cries of an Israeli baby sounds the same. And so I'm just troubled, even just around this table, that just the total disregard for Palestinian lives, and then to intimate that the Biden-Harris administration has not done anything. They have funded time and time again. 40,000 Palestinians have been killed.
And I don't think anyone disregarded Palestinian lives. I'm an Arab American.
I wonder
feel
how
that
much
way.
do you think that will ultimately matter for Kamala Harris?
I mean, I think the vice president, so far she has shown herself to want to continue what the administration that she is part of wants to do. Now, she has softened some of the, she has said, in other words, she is troubled about the suffering of Palestinians. But saying something and doing something about it is two different things. We, as the United States of America, as any other nation, should want both people to be able to have freedom, justice, and security, because that brings freedom, justice, and security for everybody in that region.
I totally agree, but the problem is identifying who is the cause of the instability, of the war, of the violence. And there is only one cause. It's Hamas. And I do believe there are a number of people on the left in this country who are not rooting for Israel on this thing. They've got it in their mind that Israel is somehow the aggressor or the cause of this. It was Hamas who took the kidnappings. It was Hamas who did the raping. It was Hamas who did the murdering. And Israel has to be able to defend itself. And the Palestinian people will be better off when Hamas
Every
is
nation
gone.
has a right to defend itself. So we're not saying anything new on that, Scott. This is my point here on this. We have to humanize Palestinians, just as somebody that believes that Israel has a right to exist. I believe Palestinians have a right to exist. Like, I'm not picking and choosing here. I think all of those lives in that region matter. But you have some people who disregard, just like that conversation we just listened to. They use Palestinian as a racial slur. And that is wrong. As you dehumanize people, you make it easier for them to be just killed. You want to keep going back to October 7th, and let's talk about the 40,000 Palestinians who have been killed and the millions who are living in famine right now.
Every single
You want to
Palestinian.
blame all that on is it Hamas's fault that this is still going on?
100%. Yes, 100%.
Netanyahu is not
And just,
right
I think you make a valid point on using Palestinian as sort of a slur or to otherize. I think that the point, the here could be over tomorrow if Hamas agreed to a ceasefire.
The conflict could be over tomorrow.
That
if
doesn't mean that there won't be
Prime Minister
decades.
Netanyahu would agree.
Well, there was.
He were family members were hostages in D.C. at the protest.
And by the way, there's plenty of Israelis who don't support Netanyahu, but it's the hostages for
From a political perspective, I really do wonder how this is going to play out, because I think one of the things we're hearing from Trump in that clip is frustration that the politics of this issue has not looked at.
I think it's, litigation with sort of the friction within the Democratic Party. I think it's absolutely moving this way. Trump's going to amplify it, and we'll hear it more and more.
I haven't seen any evidence. He's frustrated that he hasn't seen American Jews swing to his side of the ledger, swing to the Republican Party. We really have not seen that.
Because Jews tend again, resident crappy Jew. I don't know that I speak for all of my people, but I speak for some of us. The reason why Jews tend to be left of center is because one of the core values of Judaism is something called tikkun olam. It's about repairing the world. It's about social justice. It's about keeping the world. People can interpret that different ways, obviously. That's not necessarily one party or another. It is not aligned with Trump. Trump wants to burn everything down. Trump wants to belittle everyone. I hear Scott talking about how Trump would be a greater friend to Israel. It's not clear to me how.
By not blaming Israel for the obvious mayhem that has been.
Biden has been
not
a
done
good
that.
friend to Israel.
Biden has not done that, Scott.
The-
You know that.
The
Biden- you
Democratic
might wanna-
Party has
look, there's-
huge elements that believe
there's the
Netanyahu is at fault and
There
not
are a lot
Hamas.
there are millions of Democrats in this country.
There are
Joe Biden and
Israelis.
his
There are
administration-
A lot of
Israelis who
Israel.
hate Netanyahu. Most Israelis don't like Netanyahu. So the idea that somebody's critical of Netanyahu does not mean that they're not a friend to Israel, because Israelis
Hey,
themselves
by the way,
are critical
Donald
of
Trump
Netanyahu.
himself critical of Netanyahu.
Oh yeah.
They really
For
glossed
different
over
reasons.
that. It seems like. But by the way, this speaks to a broad thing. I think Donald Trump, who was a novice when he came into politics, tends to look at voting blocks and people and demographics as these monoliths, and he's always struggled to understand, like, oh, but like, why couldn't you be with me if you're this? So you're Jewish, you must only care about Israel, therefore you are with me, and if you're not,
You
you're a
might
bad
call
Jew.
it identity politics.
You know what? It might be.
Everyone hang tight for us. Coming up next, we have new CNN reporting.